We're in trouble in America. We're losing our moral bearings. We're losing our respect for the rule of law. And you look around America today and things are bad and they're getting worse. We're broke. We're dispirited. We're scared. We've been moving closer and closer to socialism, further away from God, the Constitution, doing what's right in our own eyes, and all the while not noticing that it's killing us. It's killing our nation.
Just beginning.
Americans tend to be too comfortable, slowly but surely turning their backs on the sacrifices their forefathers made for liberty. Why is that? As bad as it is, as horrible as it seems, as unlikely as it appears that we can escape, what we're going through can actually be a vitally necessary experience for us, and one that is ultimately very healthy and liberating for this country. The truth needs to be told in all the dark places, because it's the truth that sets us free.
Come on, Matt.
Daily is live, November 20, 2024. Things are extremely serious. They're heating up. We reported on Monday that Biden had authorized long-range missiles to be used by Ukraine in their war against Russia, and we speculated whether or not this was just a threat. But as we are watching footage and things are being reported that it's actually happening, and this is a very serious situation, and we are going to keep track of it. Please head over to WorldNet Daily, WND.com, and stay up to date on the latest. Apparently, the British missiles are now being used as well, and so this is a very hot issue, very fluid, as they say. Josh Turnbow, of course, here.
Hey, Matt.
And
how are you?
There he is. Okay. Yeah, and I'm good. Although I think I'm having a bit of a lag on my end. I don't know if the Russians are dealing. If there's something in the air over here, I am going through a cyclone bomb off the west coast here. So I may have to reboot here in a minute, but Josh, get us up to speed here. We also have Elizabeth Farah and Joe Kovacs in the room, right? I'm trying to watch my screen here. Like I said, there might be a lag. Hey, folks, good to see you again.
Hi. It's good to be back. Hi, Joe.
Okay, I see a little lag in Joe too. Yeah. Okay, let's jump right in, I guess, Matt, and then we'll see how it goes with our quality here. Oh.
Yeah, please do, Josh.
I see Matt having
we'll
a
get
lag.
things rolling. But let's go to our first. Yeah, anybody not have a lag? Anybody not have a lag?
I'm not having a lag. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, I feel like we have a little bit of a lag on Joe, a little bit on Matt. Let's go for it. Let's jump into the first story and see how it goes. Okay, I see. Okay, I see Matt is back. Let's see here. Hey everybody, this is Josh taking over here. We're just having an issue with our connection. So yeah, what we're talking about here is something pretty serious. Our episode is called Deadly Serious today, and this is a serious situation. First, with the firing of U.S.-made missiles and now your British-made cruise missiles, the Storm Shadow and Scalp missiles, fired into Russia. So we're watching this very closely. The Russians are letting us know how they feel. This is a tweet from Clandestine. Now Ukraine has fired British missiles into Russian territory. NATO are making an all-out push for World War III before Trump gets in office. They're trying to bait Putin into doing something drastic so the rest of NATO can justify joining the conflict directly, not a drill. So pretty serious stuff here. This is an image of the Storm Shadow missile. So this is provided by Britain. Ironically, and we'll show this here coming up, or not ironically, in the Russian response propaganda, what they've actually shown is them retaliating with a nuclear strike on Britain, which is pretty serious. And obviously that would be different for them, than attacking America directly. But guys, I want you to weigh in on this. Joe, I know we have an article over at worldnetdaily.com talking about this. What do we think about this? I'm kind of waiting for Trump to make a statement. There has not been a statement yet. How are we feeling about this kind of moment?
Well, it's a troubling moment, and it's something that nobody wants to see happen, especially with the election results that happened 2 weeks ago. And America woke up, and somebody had told me that a friend of theirs had said it's like waking up and every day is Christmas. It's Christmas morning every day when they wake up, because Trump is on, knowing what's happened in the past 4 years. So we've had all this wave of optimism and euphoria, thinking that everything's going to be sunshine and roses. Don't forget, the evil is always out there, and the evildoers, and they're always plotting against the Trumpster. They're not going to stop, obviously, and there are all these theories that the missiles, the longer-range missiles that are being used to be fired into Russia, are bait to get Trump saddled with World War III, or the very close potential of World War III as it comes into office. So it's an extremely intriguing situation, but you know, when you're dealing with nuclear World War III, it's a very obviously deadly situation. So everyone is a little bit tense, a little less euphoric than when Trump his landslide victory on Election Day.
Yeah, Elizabeth, would love your take on this.
Well, a president who launches effectively an attack by proxy is a president who is declaring war through a proxy. It's the same thing. It is a declaration of war. And it's without congressional approval. I was just watching a clip from Biden in 2007 declaring that unless America has been attacked or is provably about to be attacked, that the president has no authority, and it's an impeachable offense, or potentially so, to attack another country and declare war. It is not within his power. He is required to wait to be attacked, or is imminently going to be attacked. We are clearly not there. So here we have a diminished man who is only over a month ready to leave office. We don't know who's running the White House. We haven't known for probably years. And we have to ask, why are we doing this, or why is he doing this? And Joe's, mentioned, of course, that trying to bring President Donald Trump into World War III is this just an act of revenge? It's retribution against the Republicans winning and trying to tank his presidency from the very beginning. And, I just, and this is wider applications too. The European Parliament is giving a standing ovation when they find out about the okay from Joe Biden, and Keir Starmer and Justin Trudeau and all these idiots, dolts, are enthusiastically supporting it. And then who's on the other side? China, Iran, North Korea. I'd say that we have a madman in the Oval, but also this is the power of the globalist deep state. And This is very, very serious. And this is why, by the way, in the United States, Democrats are unfit for power. They should not be ruling.
Yeah, we have this comment from Paul Riggin. Do you think the communists will try to nuke the USA? I don't think this is who can say, Paul. I don't think that's what the Russian goal is, but there seems to be a globalist push. I mean, Joe, you had this article on WorldNet Daily of the real reason that they're firing the missiles, and what is the real reason that we think that is? Oh.
Again, it's to bait a World War III and put it on Trump. And the deep state is supposedly behind this, and they stomach Trump at all costs. And we've seen Trump go through, rapid fire picks for his cabinet members, his positions that they're yet to be confirmed. But he's just going like day after day. I think he's doing it like clockwork here, just to be always in the headlines of who the most members of his cabinet.
Oh, shoot. Looks like we lost Joe. Elizabeth, we're the last two standing.
It's up to us, Josh. We can do this. I would say that this is, I don't know, the last 4 years has been a consistent confirmation as to the depths of darkness that the Democratic Party and the globalist state, or the globalists and the deep state, the administrative state, it's just a constant confirmation. And here we are. It's almost glorious in a way. I hate to say that and be taken wrong, but what I'm saying is that the hand of God is at work here. We have to keep in mind that he is in control. He is sovereign. And the Democrats are outing themselves out. That's a little redundant, but anyway, the Democrats are outing themselves as the warmongers that they are. And so even though we're coming very close to a disaster of biblical proportions, we still have to remember that this is a way that we can point back to just who these people are and just why they do not deserve to be in this position of power. Hey, Joe.
Yeah, guys, I want to welcome back, Joe. We are 2 months away, right, from the inauguration. And that actually seems like an eternity when we consider that, just 2 days ago, it's permission to use the missiles. The missiles are being used. Now permission to use British cruise missiles. That is happening. And now additionally, Biden's green-lighted landmines. Let's go ahead and bring this, this in. Landmines. So this is a bizarre tactic. Landmines forever have been thought to be kind of like one of the most evil things in war, because once you place them, getting them back is so difficult. You almost can't. We see that they're still in Africa and some of the nations that planted them. But this is such a bizarre turn of saying, oh yeah, let them put in landmines, which is a defensive thing, which may suggest that, planting landmines is not a strong projection of what you believe is going to happen in a war. It means you're going to create access to area denial zones where you can't get through because you don't have the manpower to shoot at someone. You need a landmine to blow up a vehicle or a person.
Wouldn't that have been something that they should have done a long time ago? I mean, why landmines now? How long has this war been going on for?
It's all 1,000 days, actually.
Yeah, 1,000 days.
1,000 days. So, which is just incredible. It's always a thing that is it's not a strong offensive move. It's a defensive move, and it kind of plays Biden's hand a little bit, even though I don't know that he's even using his hands or doing anything other than drinking out of a straw.
Who is making this decision? Is this Lloyd Austin? I mean, who is the one in who is the last person in the room?
Well, this is the blob, right? And actually, we had this comment on the show this Monday. We've been thinking about this idea that, it becomes very difficult to change your group in the Pentagon if you've then escalated war footing. And that's a very effective tactic. Tom Souza, throw that comment up one time. Tom Souza saying, why Why real Americans love Trump. Perfectly said about the deep state and the Democrats. Yeah, thank you, Tom. Yeah, so let's bring Matt back in. Okay, we got. Oh, sorry, Matt. How are you, buddy? Welcome back.
I'm good. Apologies on this end. Nothing a good unplug and replug won't solve.
Yeah, turn it off, turn it on again.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what we need to do with this White House. Let's unplug it. Let's get the administration in there. Throw the plug back in and get back to some normalcy. You guys were talking about these landmines, and I just like. It's unfathomable that we have to go through this whole landmine type of debacle where years from now you've got kids running across the fields and blowing themselves up because of landmines that were forgotten. Where are we? What's next? Next?
Matt, we're on this section here. We want to show this video. The episode today is called Deadly Serious is what we're going with the title of today's show. Here's the evidence that the Russians are deadly serious about the threat they perceive coming from this stuff.
Несложно предположить географию ответа в случае, если короткий пресс-релиз Белого дома станет реальностью. Под угрозой без малого все европейские столицы, если наши ракеты встанут в Калининграде, Берлин, Варшава, все Прибалты, Париж, Бухарест, Прага. Конечно, американские базы в Германии, Гармии-Шпартенкирхен, казармы Патча, Шпангдалем, Рамштайн. Особое внимание Британии, нашему традиционному врагу, так как против нее будет работать значительная часть Северного флота. Под удар Вашингтон ставит не только Лондон, но и Манчестер, Бирмингем, крупнейшую военно-морскую базу Девонпорт, Клайд в Шотландии, где король хранит ядерные...
Yeah, so this is a sanctioned video that says, hey, look, guys, we'll strike. And this is a direct projection to the British, Matt. They're saying, we will strike these important locations in the UK. And I mean, that's because the UK is participating by allowing them to use their cruise missiles, which it's pretty serious.
Well, how do calmer and cool heads prevail here? I mean, I think back to the Cuban Missile Crisis, and I wasn't alive during that time, and I haven't studied it as intimately as some other historians have. But there was this sort of public perception that the tensions were building while there was background talks going on, right? So that there were things that were happening in the back channels. Elizabeth, do you think any of that is possible now, that with the back channels, not necessarily with the Biden administration, but maybe with the Trump administration?
Well, that's what I was just thinking of. Yeah. Firstly, I will say that I was alive then, so I cannot believe that why am I now always the oldest person in the room? Okay, that really bothers me. So I'm thinking that this is really going to be on Trump. And I don't say that because I have any, inside information here. But the reality is the grown-ups in the room are the Republicans. It's the Trump administration. We see the regime press constantly referring to the grown-ups in the room. It's really, and I think Biden said that when he wanted to win the White House in 2020. He was saying, the grown-ups will be back in power. These are children. It's like a room filled with children that are having temper tantrums and psychos and people that are power hungry, and the military industrial complex. I mean, Trump kept us out of wars. Biden comes in. We're at wars in multiple fronts. We put our bestest friend, Israel, in great risk because of our weakness, Afghanistan, all of this. The grown-ups need to be back in office, and I suggest that Pete Hegseth and others step up and start the narrative on our terms. That Donald J. Trump, of course, with his permission, naturally, but Donald Trump, he should have a war room. He should have his own situation room where they've got a big old map up on the wall and they're talking strategic. They should have their whole team together on a daily basis until then, because they've got to keep us out of this war.
Yeah, they do, because right now it seems as though the left and the elite are saying, well, if we can't have it, then nobody can, and they just want to destroy the whole thing.
Oh my gosh, it's like a serial killer that kills. I mean, or whatever you call those stalker killers. That I'm going to kill my wife and my 4 kids because she's divorcing me because I beat her.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And scorched earth.
Yeah, it's scorched earth. It's a scorched earth mentality, and I mean that map that I usually don't get. I try not to like be overwhelmed by propaganda like that, Josh, that you showed, where they said, "Look, we could just send our missiles all over the place." But the thought of that is, I feel like, is so close now because we've lived through the release of whether it was intentional or not, the release of a COVID virus, right? We've seen what they can do on a global scale. We are ready for anything that they can take on, whether it's trying to assassinate Trump, to all of the lawfare, to everything that's going on. I mean, the Biden blew up Russia's Nord Stream pipeline. That's a fact.
If you started to make the list, we'd be here the rest of the day of the outrages, and it's this sort of back channel, this government. Well, it's a deep state. Yeah. Okay, it's a back channel war.
Yeah. Tucker had a tweet, right? Josh, we've got a tweet here from Tucker who highlighted someone's video. Is that what we got?
Yeah. So this video. Let's go ahead and play the video. So even Tucker had to weigh in. He says, a lame duck president just started a hot war with the world's most dangerous country. All of us are very close to being killed. Yet somehow the Republican Speaker of the House hasn't even mentioned it in public or in the leadership meetings. What's going on? And then we have this video from Mario Nafal, who it shows Russians setting up like emergency nuclear bunker. Go ahead and play that video.
These bomb shelters are designed to protect against radiation and natural disasters, and they're now being mass-produced in Russia, the country's Emergency Ministry Research Institute has said. The announcement coming as US President Joe Biden's administration agreed to allow Ukraine to fire American long-range missiles deep into Russia, though the Research Institute did not link the production increase to any current crisis. The Cub-M shelter is said to defend against a variety of threats, including shrapnel, debris, and fires. It can even be deployed in Russia's vast northern permafrost, according to the State Institute. A standard unit can hold 54 people, but additional modules can be added.
Wow. Yeah, Matt. So today's episode is brought to you by that shelter company. We're going to sell those here in the United States as well. I'm in line to buy one at this rate. So
it's incredible to watch them mobilize stuff like that and get ready for it. I mean, I would imagine we have something like that here, but I've never seen it on the shelves. For regular folks.
Yeah.
You brought up the map and you called it propaganda, which, understandably so. But let's just look at it this way. We are crossing another red line, and it's a very bright red line. We crossed it back 1,000 days ago, before 1,000 days ago, when VP Kamala Harris went to Germany and basically thumbed her nose at Putin. He was saying, I have a red line. I do not want you to bring NATO into, bring NATO into Ukraine and Ukraine into NATO. Right. That would necessitate all of an arms buildup in NATO. We have been invaded 3 times in recent history through Ukraine. It's a 2,000-mile long border. It is the way that Europeans come into Russia. Russia looks so huge, according to Kamala Harris, but most of that, what is permafrost and Mongolian, old, Genghis Khan's former towns that he lived in or destroyed or burnt to the ground. It's really close to Ukraine and the rest of Europe, and it only takes minutes to get a hypersonic or any other kind of missile into Moscow. You know how we have a picture of the big gorgeous domes? I don't even know what what is the name of that building? Sorry, I should know.
Kremlin.
Is it the Kremlin? Okay, I didn't want to say it. I thought I was going to be wrong. The Kremlin that looks like a beautiful church. What if they take that out? Do you think if that is hit, what do you think is going to happen?
Well,
We
it's
know.
not going to be. It's not going to be nothing like when France lost Notre Dame, right? Like nothing happened from,
Oh
from
yeah,
losing
that
Notre Dame.
really freaked me out.
Yeah,
too.
but you're exactly right. I mean, I mean, that is like the apple of the eye of Russia, the symbolism of it. And if they were to hit that, it would be all.
It's like hitting the Kaaba in Mecca. Just
Yeah, it's pretty disheartening. Joe, we were talking about the kind of like the things that we're seeing publicly happen, with this escalation, and comparing it to the Cuban Missile Crisis, where we know now that there were a lot of back channels, there was a lot of talking going on behind the scenes. Do you suspect there's any of that going on with either the Trump administration or the calmer heads that are in power now in our country?
Well, just about 2 or 3 days ago, Trump, because of this issue with the missiles, put out a video on X and elsewhere saying that he's urging Putin and Zelensky to call him. He wants to negotiate right now, even before he's officially inaugurated as president, to solve this thing. Of course, that was one of his big campaign promises. I could solve this in a day if he just gets back into power. So with Biden giving the go ahead, or whoever, if it's not Biden, because he doesn't know where he is. He's, last I knew, he was walking off into the Amazon jungle the other day, and Fox News even had it as a chyron there saying Biden walks off into the Amazon jungle.
That's funny.
And no one knows what he's doing at any given time. But Trump does want to solve this. So I think down at Mar-a-Lago, I'm not in Palm Beach today. I'm in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, where they're doing the vote counting and that whole controversy, if we want to talk about that. But the back channel stuff is taking place, at least on Trump's end.
Yeah, that's great to hear. That's great to hear. I think you're right. It's good to point that out. And kudos to you for being up in Bucks County. Yeah, let's get more on that in a little bit. Let's go to some of the comments. We love the people commenting over on Rumble, YouTube, X, wherever you're at. Throw your comments up there. What do you tell us what you think? We've got a comment here. War and death initiated because you don't like someone is very sick. I mean, yes, 100%. So we'll keep those comments rolling there. But Josh, we do want to tell our viewers all about the Zelenko protocol, because it is getting into winter. Is coming around in about a month. We're a month away from winter, but the cold and flu season has arrived. So please head over to get yourself on board with the Zelenko protocol. You've got all these different types of supplements and vitamins and combinations that help fight against the cold and flu season. Dr. Zelenko was a force. For those of us in the COVID pandemic era who were looking for some sane advice. So we're not medical doctors, nor do we pretend to be, but we do encourage you to consult with your physicians and head over to get the Z-Stack by scanning the QR code, using the link in the description and the promo code WND to get 5% off your Z-Stack. Fantastic. Okay. The predictions that were going on heading into this election. We saw the woman who predicted Iowa. She decided to retire from polling, and now another guy, Alan Lichtman, was he's more of a Democrat pollster, right, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, Alan Lichtman he's famous for calling the presidencies. So right before, a couple months before the elections, he has this system that he puts up to determine who will win the presidency, and he's been accurate. I think he was a little off in 2000, or in the 2000s. One of the elections he missed there, I can't remember who it was. But before we jump to that, we wanted to just ask Joe about more on Bucks County real quick, and then we'll come back to the failed Alan Lichtman.
All right, yeah, let's do that, Joe. What are you doing up there in Bucks County? Yeah,
Joe, what's the latest? How is this even a thing still, Joe?
It shouldn't be a thing. I came here for another reason, and yet, lo and behold, the events have been choreographed by God to make Bucks County the center of the election universe right now. It's a county that has been usually going blue, going Democrat in the last few election cycles, but it was turned red in this election cycle with President Trump. And there has been this big controversy in Doylestown, which is the county seat of Bucks County, where the county commissioners have decided to flaunt the law and flaunt rulings by local courts and the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, which says you cannot count illegally marked ballots where it didn't have the date on there properly, or there was some problem with the ballot. The courts have all ruled that those ballots cannot be counted. And you've probably seen footage of the county commissioners a few days ago or last week saying,
Right.
well, I want a court to pay attention here. So, nobody follows the law in America anymore. So I'm going to violate this law willingly, intentionally. And so it's caused a big uproar. Today, at this moment, in downtown Doylestown, there is a county commission meeting where tons of people have shown up from Bucks County and even from out of Bucks County to call these people out. They're being called tyrants. They are saying that they want them to resign immediately. These people have no intention of resigning. I can tell you that. They're, in my opinion, extremely arrogant, but that's just my personal opinion. But the crowd there is very peaceful. In fact, one of my friends who is at the meeting, when she first went into the meeting, she asked one of the county officials there, I assume it's peaceful today? And the county official said, well, it's always peaceful when you're dealing with Republicans protesting. It's not like Democrats
Mostly peaceful.
Mostly peaceful. The Democrats burn their cities down, but it is peaceful. But I mean, the rhetoric got quite vocal. These county commissioners are being called all kinds of names. They're violating the Constitution. They put Bucks County on the map, but for the wrong reason. Nobody wants this to go down as your legacy. We're the place that's violating the Constitution willingly.
Yeah, and Joe, so that's my question then is, where's the sheriff? The sheriff is the chief constitutional law enforcement guy in the county as far as my reading of the Constitution goes. Where is the sheriff? Where are the sheriffs in these situations? I mean, if the commissioners are sitting up there and willingly admitting that they are violating the law, that they're violating the court's order, then I'm sorry, the sheriff should show up and say, you need to enforce the law or something. Is anybody out there? I saw Scott Pressler give his 3 minutes at the commissioners meeting. Is anybody calling for the sheriff, or is the sheriff just in lockstep with the Democratic machine?
So far, there have been no arrests. And even though, again, people in the audience are calling for their arrest, their resignation, prosecution, they want them in jail because they don't want first of all, they want only legal ballots to count. That's the difference. I remember Al Gore back in the 2000 election with George Bush. Hey, let's just count all the votes. But he only wanted the votes in Broward County, which could be manipulated.
What's the point? I don't get it. Like, what are they going to overturn the presidency? Like, what the heck?
I have a conspiracy theory that I have worked
the
out.
Dave McCormick race is still out there and is being recounted. So Dave McCormick is trying to unseat Bob Casey in the U.S. Senate. So it's not a presidential thing right now. It's Dave McCormick.
I have the answer for you. This is the answer.
Please.
So, okay. So this is what I think was the plan. The main focus is on the fact that these are ballots that are not properly dated. And I believe what they did was, in advance, they had a bunch of illegal, fraudulent ballots created. And whether they didn't date them for a particular reason, knowing, of course, that no one normally cares, right? We saw this 4 years ago, all those rules that were made up and ignored or made up on the fly by Democrats and judges. So they had this whole group of ballots that were going to be put in, perhaps, and I don't know about the timing about this, maybe even at a certain point, because Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, were they still some of these ballots coming in, or were all of these in by election day actually received?
I know they were put in a separate pile and then counted, and they're still, the counting continues. As the Democrats go, the counting continues until the Democrat wins. That's how it usually goes, like when Al Franken won back in the day in Minnesota. So they just like to count until the Democrats win. So as far as I know, these ballots, which were not either signed or improperly dated, I think they were in by election day, but they were not thrown in with the original or the properly dated legal ballots, if you want to put it that way. And the legal ballots were counted. And of course, the race was called by all the media agencies for Dave McCormick, and he's still ahead. But Bob Casey wants the recount, longtime Democrat senator. And so you have this issue going on. Will these ballots be counted? The Pennsylvania Supreme Court, which is, the highest court in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania here, says they cannot be counted. It is illegal, and to stop counting. And like Matt said, where's the sheriff on this? We don't see.
But I think that there's something to do with the dating. Why they are very much focused on this group of undated, because that's primarily the problem, is it not? There may be some things with some of them, a small portion or a certain portion of them, that don't have proper signatures or anything. But it seems to be all focused on a big group that are not dated. They may not have been dated intentionally so that they could be inserted in the process after the fact. Right. This is me I'm just speculating, but it seems to me that if McCormick was ahead, it's normal that he would receive pretty much the same proportion of all of the ballots. And it tells me that these are maybe a subset of ballots, maybe fraudulent, and not just unsigned or undated, but fraudulent. And they were using that as the backup plan. And now that the judge ruled this, they've lost the backup plan. They're sure. Right. I bet you this would be the one thing we'd love to do. Maybe you could go down there and do that, Joe. If we could get a hold of what the proportion of the ballots for Casey are in that group, you might find it's like 80%.
Right.
For Casey, because this was happened in California. This election,
and we saw it in 2020 and stuff. So, Joe, we're glad you're in Bucks County. Keep on it, and we'll look for articles that pop up. When you have anything going to be published today, tomorrow, this week?
Well, I can tell you on WorldNet Daily right now, if you go to the main site, one of our top articles is the actual live hearing of Bucks County Commission. So you can watch it yourself from start to finish.
Brilliant.
So it's fantastic. There. We really don't have a story on it because it's ongoing, but you can see the video.
Yes.
Yeah, it's happening right now. So go there. We've thrown it out in our news alerts to make sure everyone's aware of it. Everyone's clicking on it big time. So this is, who'd have thunk that this little county, where it's just like 45 minutes north of Pennsylvania on a good day, 3 hours on a bad day, traffic-wise, driving, because it's really that the traffic here is horrendous in the suburban Philadelphia area. Yeah. But it's who'd have thunk that this little county would be the center of the universe when it comes to politics in the wake of the 2024 election. But Bob Casey has not conceded. Even John Fetterman. Remember John Fetterman?
Yeah. Everybody's calling for.
He's everywhere.
The hoodie man is thinking that Casey will eventually do the right thing and concede the race. Who would have ever thought that John Fetterman would have the most sense of any member of the United States Senate, and yet he's a clear-thinking individual, Democrat. It's almost like an oxymoron to say clear-thinking Democrat, and yet there he is. Right. With a good take on the measure. So kudos to Fetterman.
Right. Yeah. Very good. Well, if there's the center of attention is going on, that WorldNet Daily is going to be there, and Joe Kovacs is on the case. So good to have you up there, Joe. All right. Well, let's move on here to this Alan Lichtman story, because as you were saying before, this guy has been predicting the presidential outcome for decades now.
He has. Yeah. He's been accurate for the last 9 presidents, well, except for this one, and he missed 2000 for George Bush. Which he blames on being stolen from Al Gore. So he doesn't really. So this guy is dreaded in some regard, right? Because I remember in 2020 he was everywhere, and people were saying like, "Oh, Lichtman says that Trump can't win in 2020," and Trump did not win in 2020. But this time, let's watch his prediction for what he thought was going to
For
happen
24, yeah.
for 24.
I issued my prediction deliberately on September 5th before the Harris-Trump debate that all the pundits saying was going to be so pivotal in deciding the election, because the big message of my system, the keys to the White House, is that it's governing, not campaigning, that counts. And the keys gauge the strength and performance of the White House party. And I have not changed my prediction of a Kamala Harris win, despite all the vicissitudes of the campaign, which have gone in both directions. Let's not forget, Harris whipped him badly in the debate, and that didn't seem to move anyone or anything. But my prediction still stands, and I have a 40-year track record behind it.
Isn't it? It's just delicious.
I gotta be honest. I've
isn't
never.
it?
I guess, yeah, but I got to be honest. I've never heard of this guy, and I'm sure there's some.
I
have.
There that's
You know what? He's a clown.
everywhere.
I'll tell you
He's
what.
a clown. I like that. Say it again.
Okay, he's
Say
a
it
clown.
again. Okay.
The reality is this. The best single indicator of who's going to win are the betting markets.
That's true. I mean,
That's
we
what it
saw that.
is. And I'm not a gambling man or a betting man, but I literally think that having this man who I think is a Democrat and who just wants to aggregate to himself or appropriate to himself a claim, this is his new thing. I think we should just put him out to pasture. It's over. Let's just go to Vegas and find out who's going to win. Doesn't it always work, Joe?
Well, these guys who make these polls, they're supposed to be reflecting public opinion, but they're not doing that anymore. And I think it's been going on for a long time, but now it's really hit, fever pitch. They are
try to
trying
mold public opinion.
Mold public opinion, exactly, to force public opinion to go their way, because they put out these polls saying such and such person is going to win, and they think they're going to move the needle. They rarely ever do. I remember Walter Mondale when he was running against Reagan in the one that he lost, 49-1. People would say to him, Mr. Mondale, you're trailing badly in the polls. And I'll go into my Walter Mondale impression here. He would say, polls don't vote, people vote, and they're going to vote for me, Fritz Mondale. And of course, they did not vote for in the election. It went 49 states to 1, and he got his home state of Minnesota, so he was lucky to get that. But the thing about these pollsters is they always take larger samples of Democrats than Republicans in the poll, and they can say, well, this is an accurate reflection, but it's not, because you don't know who's going to show up on election day. It's not always more Democrats than Republican. And as we saw in this election, so many places that voted Democrat in the last election for Joe Biden went for Trump this time. I think CNN even put up a map of where Kamala was doing better. Which counties is Kamala doing better?
And it was zero. Sorry.
zero.
I stepped on your line. I'm sorry.
It was a blank map, and the CNN guys were like, is that a blank map? There's no counties where she's
it was incredible.
better, because she's not. So these pollsters, they come a dime a dozen, and I just don't put any.
Look, everything has changed.
At all.
The entire world has changed. There is nobody who's unaffected by this election. And when I think about this Bucks County thing, it's like the Democrats just keep on giving, because they're a lot of people might have been able to say, well, look, we didn't have any problems with 2024. Thank you for showing us how much election reform is required at the federal level, because we have Democrats in Bucks County that are literally saying they're going to thwart the law. And that's just the laws that we have on the books, let alone that we should have national ID, firmed up everywhere. And by the way, the Democrats have had SB 1 up throughout from 2023, where they are trying to overturn elections and turn it back into essentially a free-for-all and codify it at the federal level. So thank you for giving us all the reasons to, nail down federal election law.
And Elizabeth, not to scare anybody, but you know who else is agreeing with you that Alan Lichtman here, Lichtman, whatever you want to call him, is a clown, is the left's very own Cenk Uygur. Have you seen this? Watch this.
Please.
Don't blame the voters. I think, look, we could get into this discussion, but one, I think you're blaming the voters. I think that's a terrible idea. Look, I debated Professor Lichtman before. I told him his theories about the keys were absurd. I was right. He was wrong. I said he'd lose his keys.
No, you were
Couldn't
not
find
right,
him
and
before
I
the
was
election.
not wrong. And that's a cheap shot, and I won't stand for it.
Well, who won, brother?
You should not be
Who
taking
won?
cheap
Who
shots
won?
at me.
Who
You
won?
want to make your
You
point,
live
make your
in a
point.
total
Don't make it
world of
personal.
denial.
I read your own followers' comments, and they all trashed you, every one of them, and supported me.
Yeah,
so quiet with your personal attacks.
come find out again.
Make whatever point you want. Don't
Look,
make it personal.
You don't know anything. You don't know
you
anything.
You attacked me
you're
personally.
So deluded.
All right. I've only been a professor for 51 years.
On this program, I've never been able to finish a thought.
How many books have you published?
Okay, they're both irrelevant. They're both irrelevant. But I got to tell you this. I love watching
Cenk Uygur, who I don't like Cenk Uygur. We don't like Cenk Uygur. But it's really great to see them eat each other, isn't it?
Oh, man. Oh, man. It is
I used
great.
to work with Cenk Uygur, just FYI, back in the day in Miami, Florida. Yeah,
Sorry for you, Joe.
Well, I tell you, there's...
Wait a minute. I want to hear what Joe says. Is he really as crazy as I condemn him as?
I got to tell you, at least he's consistent. This is when I was going through the hiring process of being hired by WorldNet Daily, when the Farahs were interviewing me and Cenk Uygur was in the same room.
It's like 28 years ago.
This was 1999, right before Y2K happened, and I bought all the toilet paper so nobody else had any. But Cenk Uygur was a coworker of mine at this television station in South Florida, and he was just as liberal and radical then as he is now. So it's nice to see at least that he's consistent.
It's consistent.
He's put on a few more pounds since then, but
yeah, I've watched a lot of Cenk Uygur though. He's a madman. He is, and he's fun, but it's so I didn't know that about you, Joe. It was worth the show just to hear about Cenk.
Well, if there is a betting market out there, I'd love to see what the odds are as Cenk continues to find more and more disillusion among the Democrat Party elite. Where I'd like to see what the betting market says about him going MAGA by the end of the year.
No, that's impossible.
Yeah, you never know.
No, you have no idea. You're not watching enough Cenk to know.
You're right. All right, fair enough. Okay, well, kids, we got to talk about where are we in the show? We're running hard here, but we got to talk about the Die Frico. We got to get the Kung Fu grip, Josh. Let's
talk about it. My favorite thing.
Yeah, the Kung Fu grip. This thing adds a 12-degree angle on your existing grip on your on the vicious assault rifles that are in your possession. There it
is, Matt.
There's yours right?
It's a live shot, y'all. It's a live.
Yeah.
See my hand.
Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Isn't that awesome? So you scan that QR code and take you right to the website, and you can get these grips. They come in these 4 different colors, and they're easy. They're just like any other grip. They're easy to assemble and throw on there. And I think Josh has his up there.
I just keeping this on the desk, Matt, as usual. But look, right. I got I showed everybody.
Okay, wait a minute.
New color.
I've got
new color.
Careful there, Elizabeth.
I know. I have my grandkids coming, so I don't have it loaded.
She just loaded it. Holy cow! Come on.
Well, they're not here yet. But anyway, I'm so excited about getting that particular product because I started shopping. And again, did you all tell me? Is your opinion? Should I get the AR-15 or AK? What is your thoughts, gentlemen?
I'm an AR-15 guy all day long. Not AKs. That's for the Russians. Americans.
Okay.
Well, then,
should I go to guns.com? Of course, it has to be sent to my local dealership. But I mean, where do you suggest I go? And should we get them as a sponsor if we say these words online?
I like Palmetto State Armory is amazing.
Palmetto,
yeah. They're down in South Carolina.
But then, of course, go to Die Frico to upgrade your grip.
Yeah.
I'm going to.
That's your furniture.
You have a better handle on your AR-15.
Absolutely.
So,
okay, I'm there. I'm buying.
Good. Scan the QR code and put the go to the link in the description to get yourself over to Die Frico. That's it right there, the Kung Fu grip. And they also have some other cool stuff. They got T-shirts, they've got some other accessories, and I'm sure they're going to build out their line as the years go on. Great group of guys, great group of company over there. Fantastic. Okay, can we fly through some of these memes out here as we end the program? I mean, the whole idea of having what do you call it? RFK, what's his name? RFK as our new health guy. The jokes about RFK lingering in your home, watching you eat are hilarious. This is here your perspective when you go downstairs in the middle of the night for a bowl of Fruit Loops. This is what you're going to see.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah, and of course this Thanksgiving, please don't talk about seed oils at Thanksgiving. And of course you show up as determined as ever.
Seed oils are so bad for you.
You know, it really is incredible how much has come out on that, and to kind of look back and do, you know, as we do our own research here, it's pretty amazing, Elizabeth, don't you think?
When my husband had his series of strokes, and my mother came home, she lived with came home. They diagnosed her with cancer like the next day. Then she got cancer after we beat that cancer. But I went into attack mode, and I'm telling you, seed oils are horrendous. And so I've thrown, you just have to throw things away. You can't give it to your friend, right? Throw everything away. Avocado, obviously olive oil, and also I'm trying to think of another and coconut oil, of course.
Coconut oil, yeah.
That you've got everything you possibly need, and then use tons of butter. What do you need seed oils for?
There you go. I love it.
They're poison.
You're gonna get a side gig with RFK, Elizabeth. This is
I love. I'm reading every one of his books right now. Every one of his books, 12,000 footnotes. They are so brilliant, and I'm going to start interviewing for a lot of the I call it, Make America Healthy Again. So look,
good.
Watch out for that, because I want to go deep into the science about vaxes, about health, all the stuff that RFK is going to be doing. We're going to be following at WorldNet Daily very closely.
Good. And speaking of that, let's show the there it is, the thumbnail here. You had Darren Beatty on to talk about Matt Gaetz and his nomination for Attorney General. I have not seen this yet. Can you give us a bit of a preview on your conversation here, Elizabeth, with Darren?
Well, I'll tell you what I was having the most fun talking about is the fact that, first, I'm going to try to get Molly Hemingway on to talk about her thorough debunking of these accusations against Matt Gaetz and the process there. So we're working on that right now. But what I really had a problem with, really enjoyed rather, is that he brought up a particular principle or a law, and I'm trying to think of it right now. I just had it up here a minute ago, so I'm going to forget, of course. How embarrassing. Anyway, and this law allows for citizens to do all the research, right? Because the Department of Justice and these investigative, regulatory agencies or investigative agencies, whatever, can only do so much research. They have to pick and choose where they're going to put their resources. But if we have been affected in some kind of having a loss of rights or loss of fortune or opportunities because of federal agencies, we will be able to, under this statute, use it to sue those agencies. And we can then, this is the good part because it's an incentive, we're working with human nature here. Not only can the government or different agencies or groups claw back some of the money that has been lost or wasted, but the individual who did the research and brought the suit gets a proportion. It's a bounty. It's called a bounty. And so all these people who have been destroyed by vaccinations, who, by the way, for the people who were not allowed into Harvard Law School because they're too white or too Asian, they can go and sue those massive endowments and get tons of money and they get to personally benefit from it.
Wow,
so
yeah.
that was one of my favorites. I wish I had it in my brain what the name of that was called.
That's good.
Go
Well,
watch
everybody-
it.
Yeah, everybody, please head over to the Rumble channel and or wherever you're following us on these for the video and watch this fantastic interview. And Joe, speaking of Matt Gaetz here, Joe, have you seen what happened on The View? I know you've been traveling, but The View, they've been talking about these horrible, horrific, unsubstantiated allegations and the investigation into Matt Gaetz. So much so that they were forced to read a legal disclaimer on camera. Did you see this?
Sonny, okay.
We have the clip. Let's watch it and then we'll get your reaction.
How could you nominate someone with allegations of child trafficking across state lines and having sex with a 17-year-old? My understanding further on in the interview, they discussed the fact that once he finds out that she's 17, he stops having sex with her.
Sonny, you have a legal note.
I do have a legal note. Thank you, Whoopi. Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented, and saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism, that DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought.
We'll be right back.
Those are
That's
delicious moments.
live on the show.
Yes.
That's what's so awesome about it.
Yeah, they had to read it live. That's like serious libel from maybe the future Attorney General of the country.
If you wonder about back channels, I could see the legal papers being filed as she was reading it. And she had a big fat smirk on her face as she was reading the salacious allegations, about the sex and all that. She just was so thrilled with herself. But when she read the legal notice afterward, she pulled a Kamala reading right off the prompter, every single word slowly, and like, I've been busted, and if I don't read these words exactly as they're written, I'm about to be fired and working at that bakery shop that Whoopi Goldberg disparaged last week. So it's just so fun to watch these people when they get busted on the air by their own people, as the ABC lawyers urgently got that message out.
And you saw how painful it was for her to just report the truth. I mean, that was the truth, right? Matt Gaetz has denied it. The investigation turned up nothing, and there were no charges brought against him. And
That's
so
right.
that's
there's nothing when they don't bring charges. I mean, there was nothing with Trump, and they brought charges.
Right.
So there must be really nothing with Matt Gaetz if they don't bring charges. So Trump is
and to use the word, sex trafficking of minors. That's, they use it. The word trafficking gets used over and over and over again because that sounds like this massive conspiracy. And I was going to go back and start doing the research on all the sex scandals in the Senate and the House of Representatives over the last 50 years, because remember when that one senator was running a brothel with his homosexual lover out of his Georgetown home?
Was that
Barney Frank?
Massachusetts.
A brothel. He was running a brothel out of his Georgetown home with his homosexual lover. As I guess the key.
That's a deep dive I don't want to go into.
Sorry.
God bless your heart if that's where you're headed. That's where you're next headed.
Next up on the segment.
All right.
Keep on moving. By the way, I want to I need to say this one correction for myself because it's called the False Claims Act.
Yes.
The False Claims Act. And I told him, I read this stuff all the time. I'd never heard of it. This is like the juiciest plum. And I'm going to do a follow-up on this because we should all be working to file.
False claims, yes.
Like we should just be throwing it on.
Yes. That should be the decade of false claims. Very good. Okay, everyone, let's fly through this real quick here, Josh. We got the Rumble channel. Oh no, we're doing one more thing. Okay, the 72 survival system. This is the 72-hour survival pack that you're going to need from Uncharted Supply Company. Hit that. Scan the QR code, hit the link in the description. If you are find yourself in a survival situation, luckily 95% of all survival situations are resolved within 72 hours. That being said, you're going to need to get through those 72 hours, and you're going to need one of these systems by your side. You're going to maybe need one for every member of your family or at your company, even at your business. This is something great to have. I don't know if we have the shot of what's inside one of these packs, but if you get one of these packs, this is what you're looking at inside. This will get you through 72 hours of any survival situation. There's everything. I mean, look, you got shovels in there, you got hats to keep warm, you got spark plugs, probably something like that. Whatever it is, they're thrown in there. And if you need access to this, scan that QR code, head over to Uncharted Supply Company, and pick up your pack today. Josh, go ahead.
Man, I want to add that we were talking to the guys over at Uncharted, and we are going to add some new items to our advertisement because, for instance, I mean, can I get one of those bunkers that Russia has? But also, we're going to show you guys power units that they carry, and those are going to be the next thing we're going to start to advertise, because the 72-hour kit is great. I mean, you should have one of those in each of your vehicles. But now I want to see some solar-powered power kits, thinking about what can happen. I mean, anything can happen, I guess, now between now and January 20th, but also after. And so we love this brand, and we love working with these guys. So we'll have more of that to show you.
Excellent.
Coming up.
All right, excellent. And as a reminder, follow us on Rumble. If you're on the front page of WorldNet Daily watching us, click through to Rumble, hit the follow button, hit that sound, the alert button, so you're notified. Josh, walk us through the next through here.
Yeah, guys, if you're watching on the WorldNet Daily website, we want you to go over where you see the video, okay? And we want you to click on that video. And in the right-hand corner is a little Rumble green icon. Click on that, go to the actual Rumble page, click the green follow button for us, okay? And the like button too, if you wouldn't mind. That's what we need, because I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of people watch it, but we need you to also follow, and that would be huge for us. Also on X, also we have every social media, but our X account is where we can give you all the uncensored stuff, and of course Instagram, Facebook, and there you go. There's our Instagram account, which is growing rapidly, which we love that you're following us over there. And then, of course, thank you to our guests for being on with us.
And I really appreciate everybody watching my show. It's the Elizabeth Ferris Show, and I really appreciate that. I have very few people following me because they do the exact same thing. So it's like we always say, hit the like button and subscribe, but I never say that.
Elizabeth, can you tell us about your latest episode? We kind of mentioned it here in the show.
Well, I'll tell you what's coming up that I'm really excited about. Dr. Gordon Chang, who is an expert, brilliant man on China. And his most recent book, I read so many books because of all this, but his most recent book, we're going to be going over the status with China, what their plans are to destroy the United States. And what their goal is to literally use chemical weapons. They even have it in a plan where they want to empty out the valleys and the hills, maybe not the Colorados, the valleys and the hills and the plains, so that Chinese can move into America. I mean, this is one of, and they want to do that through viruses and various disease-related warfare. So they're planning on all this, and we're going to be talking about all of, Xi. And then next week, which I had planned for today, Dr. Eli David, who is an Israeli, he's an AI, he's a PhD in AI. Didn't know that kind of thing. But anyway, he's a big Israeli X account, massive, hundreds and hundreds, 800,000 followers, and he's just funny, but he's got this great tech background, but he's also brilliant on the war, and we want to keep up on Israel. So that's two of the things. And Friday, I'm having Victor Avila, who is a former ICE agent, and he's going to be talking about Tom Holman and the border.
Fantastic.
And the deportation.
Yes. Oh, good. All right. All great stuff. Well, we got bonus. We were into bonus time now, everybody. So, yeah, here's the. Oh, you want some of that? Do I have some of that?
I'm always doing the Trump dance.
Very good. Joe, good luck in Bucks County. We will see you, everybody, here on Friday with more. Josh, take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
There's a place you can go, I said.